You park your car, turn off the engine, and walk away. Nothing unusual, right? But if you drive a turbocharged car, you're probably already damaging your turbo without even realizing it. And one day, that small mistake could turn into a $3,000 repair bill. So today, we're counting down 8 mistakes turbo car owners make all the time, including one that almost everyone has done at some point. And trust me, 99% of drivers have definitely made the #1 mistake on this list. Mistake number 8, flooring it when the engine is still cold. You start the car, pull out of your driveway, and a few seconds later, you hit the gas. The turbo kicks in, the car pulls hard, and it feels great. But your engine isn't ready for that yet. When the engine is cold, the oil hasn't reached its normal operating temperature, and it doesn't flow the same way it does once the engine is warmed up. Your turbocharger depends on that oil for lubrication, so asking for heavy boost immediately after startup puts unnecessary stress on the system. And no, you don't need to sit in your driveway for 10 minutes waiting for the engine to warm up. Just take it easy for the first few minutes. Keep the RPMs reasonable, avoid full throttle acceleration, and let the engine gradually reach operating temperature before you start pushing the car. It sounds like a tiny habit, but if you repeat it every morning, you're repeatedly putting unnecessary stress on a system that can cost thousands of dollars to replace. And if you think this mistake is easy to avoid, wait until you hear what number 7 is, because this one is something turbo owners do without even thinking about it. Mistake number 7, ignoring your oil level. You check your tire pressure, you check the fuel, you notice the warning lights. But when was the last time you actually checked your engine oil level? For a turbocharged engine, this can become a very expensive habit to ignore. Your turbo relies on a steady supply of engine oil for lubrication and heat management. If the oil level gets too low, the turbo may not get the lubrication it needs, and because the turbo operates at extremely high speed, that can become a serious problem. The scary part is that your car can still feel completely normal while the oil level is gradually dropping. Oil consumption, small leaks, or long periods between checks can slowly bring the level down. And don't wait for a dashboard warning to remind you. An oil pressure warning is not your regular check your oil reminder. It can indicate a serious lubrication problem that needs immediate attention. So check the oil level according to your owner's manual, especially if your engine is known to consume oil. It takes less than a minute, and that minute could save you from a repair bill that costs thousands. But number 6 is where things get even more interesting, because this mistake involves something almost every turbo owner has to replace regularly. Mistake number 6, using the wrong engine oil. One of the easiest ways to put your turbo engine at risk is also one of the mistakes people make when they think they're actually doing the right thing, using the wrong engine oil. A lot of drivers see 5W30 or 5W40 on the bottle and assume that's all they need to check, but the viscosity is only part of the story. Your engine may require a specific API rating or a manufacturer approval designed for that particular turbocharged engine. Using an oil that doesn't meet those requirements can affect how well the engine handles heat, deposits, and lubrication under heavy load. And the problem is, you probably won't notice anything immediately after an oil change. The car will start, drive, and feel completely normal. The damage, if the oil is unsuitable, can build up over time. So before your next oil change, don't just match the viscosity. Check the exact specification in your owner's manual and make sure the oil you buy actually meets it. And number 5 gets even more expensive because it's a mistake people make when they're trying to save money on maintenance. Mistake number 5, ignoring the air filter. You probably don't think twice about your air filter. When it gets dirty, you replace it, close the hood, and forget about it. But on a turbocharged engine, the intake system plays a much bigger role than you might realize. Your turbo is constantly pulling in large amounts of air, and that air needs to be clean and properly filtered before it reaches the compressor. A severely restricted filter can reduce airflow, while a damaged or poorly fitted filter can allow dirt and debris into the intake system. And that can become a serious problem for a turbocharger because the compressor wheel is spinning at extremely high speed. You also need to be careful with cheap aftermarket filters that don't fit correctly or don't provide adequate filtration. More airflow isn't automatically better if you're allowing contaminants into the engine. The safest approach is simple. Use a quality filter that fits your vehicle correctly and replace it according to the manufacturer's recommendations, especially if you drive in dusty conditions. And number 4 is one of those mistakes people make because they think they're actually protecting the turbo. Mistake number 4, shutting the engine off immediately after hard driving. You've just finished a hard drive. Maybe you were accelerating aggressively on the highway, climbing a steep hill, or simply enjoying the extra power your turbo gives you. You pull into your driveway, put the car in park, turn the engine off, and walk away. Most people never think twice about it, but after heavy driving, the turbocharger and surrounding components can be extremely hot, and shutting the engine down immediately stops the normal oil circulation and cooling process provided by the running engine. Modern turbocharged cars are designed to handle heat, and many have systems that continue managing temperatures after shutdown. So you usually don't need to sit there idling for 5 or 10 minutes. The smarter habit is to simply back off before you arrive. Spend the last few minutes driving normally instead of staying on boost right until you park. That gives the engine and turbocharger a chance to come down from the hardest part of the drive before you shut it off. And the next mistake is different, because this time the warning comes from the turbo itself, and ignoring it can get very expensive. Mistake number 3, ignoring strange turbo noises. Your turbo probably won't send you a message saying something is wrong. Instead, it may start making a sound you've never heard before. Maybe it's a high-pitched whine, a strange siren-like noise, or a grinding sound that gets louder when you accelerate. And this is where a lot of drivers make a mistake. They hear the noise, but because the car is still making power, they keep driving and hope it goes away. Sometimes the noise can be caused by something simple, like an intake or boost leak, so a strange sound doesn't automatically mean the turbo is failing. But a new or progressively louder noise should never be ignored. Other warning signs can include reduced boost, loss of power, excessive smoke, or increased oil consumption. The earlier you investigate these symptoms, the better your chances of catching the problem before a small issue turns into a complete turbo failure. A turbo replacement can easily become a major repair bill, so don't wait for the car to stop working before you take unusual symptoms seriously. And the next one is a mistake that can damage more than just your turbo. Mistake number 2, modifying the intake without understanding the consequences. You want more power, so you install a bigger intake or a high flow filter. It sounds like an easy upgrade, but changing the intake can affect how air moves through the system and how the engine sensors measure that airflow. A poorly designed or badly fitted intake can create air leaks, sensor problems, or even allow unfiltered air into the turbocharger. And when your turbo is pulling in huge amounts of air, even small problems can become expensive over time. That doesn't mean every aftermarket intake is bad. A properly designed system for your exact engine can work perfectly fine. The mistake is installing a random part just because it promises more horsepower. Before modifying the intake, make sure it fits correctly, maintains proper filtration, and is designed specifically for your engine. Because the number one mistake is even simpler, and almost every turbo driver has done it. Mistake number 1, flooring it in too high a gear. You're cruising at low RPM, then suddenly you need to accelerate, so you press the gas all the way down without letting the transmission downshift. The car starts building boost, but the engine is being asked to produce a lot of power while turning relatively slowly. That can create very high cylinder pressures, especially in modern turbocharged gasoline engines. In some engines, this can contribute to low-speed pre-ignition, or LSPI, which can cause severe internal engine damage. The simple solution is to let the transmission downshift when you need strong acceleration. If you have a manual, select a lower gear before giving it full throttle. You're not avoiding boost. You're simply allowing the engine to operate in a better RPM range before demanding maximum power. And that tiny change can make a big difference when you're trying to keep a turbocharged engine healthy for the long run. If you drive a turbocharged car, avoid these mistakes and give your turbo the best chance of lasting for years. If this video helped you, hit the like button, leave a comment, and subscribe for more car tips that can save you money.